morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 465-67 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show.
66.
Here on 66 on the Cryo Media Network. Yeah. Every day this week I've been thinking that we're the day after the day that we are. For some reason, I'm one day ahead all week long. I really thought we were Wednesday for some reason. I do not know why.
We're not.
Oh well.
Crier Media.
Yes, Crier Media. If we even get the dates wrong,
We still put on a show.
Oh man, no, Kit Linda, we did not coordinate. White T-shirts were not the uniform of the day.
No, it just worked out. Yeah.
I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a packed and quick show for you today. So, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
I think I'm doing okay this morning, to be honest with you. I slept a little bit better last night. I did an ASMR and talked about some stuff that I'm going through. Yeah, I think I feel a little bit better this morning. We'll see how the day progresses. I've got lots to do today. It's going to be a very busy day.
All right. Jumping right into it. I know I do want to talk about the success of our Paralympians, but I don't want to crowd it in and try and rush it. So I will probably move that to delay that to yet another show.
Okay.
But because I promised it yesterday, and yeah, we have a short time frame today, and a lot happened. Basically, yesterday, conservatives had exploded.
Yes.
And
yeah.
they lost their ever-loving minds. You had Doug Ford going off on Jagmeet Singh for some reason. I have no idea what the direct connection is between them two. But you had Doug Ford calling Singh a greedy politician.
I know.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Not only were conservatives losing their mind, but conservatives were repeatedly murdering irony.
Well,
Basically killed irony, gave it CPR, brought it back to life, killed it again, brought it back to life.
I don't think they know what it is.
I'm just... Okay. So apparently Doug Ford is referring to Jagmeet Singh as a greedy politician.
I know. That's just... That one just floors me. Excuse me, Doug.
So have you met yourself?
Doug Ford.
Doug Ford, the guy that's transferring billions of dollars of wealth to his
wealthy friends.
Public
funds to his wealthy friends.
For which he may or may not be getting some type of kickback. We do not know.
We don't know. No. And we're not even
He
making an
might have been.
accusation or an
He might be
assumption.
doing this out of the generosity of his heart.
Isn't he already wealthy to begin with, though?
Yes,
So,
but as Madonna sang, nothing's better than more, more, more. Right?
guess.
Once you have a lot, nothing's better than more. Once you have it all, there's still more. Apparently.
But if you had it all, where are you going to put it?
I don't know. And what would you even do with it?
Well, this is the thing.
Right? There's only so many hours in a day. If you have it all, you still can't do everything with all of it. So what's the point? But yeah. And then you had Danielle Smith all over the Twitters saying that the federal government has no mandate to negotiate things against the interests of Alberta and the West with the Bloc Québécois, because, of course, with Jagmeet Singh stepping away from the supply and confidence agreement, well, you have the Bloc Québécois going, well, hey, we've been on the back burner for the last 2 years. Now, if you want to stay alive, maybe there's a couple of things that we want to get. So, talk to the NDP, see if they're willing to do ball with you. And if they don't, well, then come see us, because we've got a couple of things that have been accumulating on our list for the last 2 years. Because, like it or not, because there are a lot of people that just go apoplectic when they hear about anybody doing any business with the Bloc, even though Stephen Harper had absolutely no problem with it when he had minority governments, and it wasn't a problem then. Even though the Bloc Québécois was once the official opposition and kind of arguably provided the best official opposition in my lifetime.
Go figure.
So it's like, we've been here before. We kind of survived glowingly. It's hardly a threat. We've had experience with far more dramatic situations. They were literally the official opposition. So, I don't know why we're losing our minds now. But apparently,
Well, it's because the Conservatives aren't in power. That's why.
yes. Well,
The Conservatives seem to think they'll keep them in check, except for the fact that the Conservatives have never been in power when the Parti Québécois or the Bloc Québécois or the CAQ was in a position to threaten separation.
Mhm.
The Liberals were in power, and guess what? We're still all together.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to act tough.
So we have Danielle Smith here. The federal government does not have a mandate to bargain with Quebec separatists at the expense of Alberta, the West, and the rest of the country. If the Liberals go down this path, we need an election to be called immediately. Why? Because you said so?
Well,
and did
doesn't
Danielle
she
Smith
want to leave?
I was just about to say that. Did Danielle Smith forget that she's a separatist too? Hello, Boo Boo Kitty.
Yeah.
So he equally then doesn't have a mandate to negotiate with you against the interests of anybody who would want us to do something on climate change, for example.
Well, do you remember the insurrectionist Freedom Convoy leader, occupationist Tamara Leach was a member of the Maverick Party, which is a Western separatist party.
Yep.
Treasonous.
So, and then, the Liberals, they're at their retreat in Nanaimo. And even though it seemed that the narrative of the day was going to start off with being, there's one MP, Alexandra Mendez, I believe, who represents a riding, I believe, in the province of Quebec, who she says, well, she has no problem with the Prime Minister staying on as being the leader. She's heard at the door all over that he needs to go, and that's the message that she was going to bring.
Mhm.
Well, it seems that was going to that was going to be the narrative, but surprise, guess who showed up at the retreat? Mark Carney. Now,
Yes.
some people, former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England, because the Brits thought he was so great that they needed to borrow him from us for a while. But apparently, the Harper appointed to the governorship of the Bank of Canada, Mark Carney, is now a traitor. So he is getting the David Johnston and Aga Khan treatment that the Conservatives have made so famous. Because, again, if we remember, David Johnston was good enough to be named Governor General of Canada,
twice.
the person that would determine whether or not in a minority situation, whether or not we would be going to an election or not. So he was good enough for the Conservatives to trust with that, but apparently not to lead an inquiry on foreign interference. Oh, he was also good for the Oliphant inquiry into the Karl-Heinz Schreiber thing as well.
Mhm.
But not good enough for that, because then they were ski buddies all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
then the Aga Khan, whose island that the prime minister went to for Christmas early on in his mandate, because the Aga Khan was an honorary pallbearer at his father's funeral, and they have a very close connection, who happened to have been made an honorary citizen of Canada by the Conservatives. And then they trashed him as a man that was open to taking bribes
Hmm.
from the prime minister, just like David Johnston was a person that would sacrifice his entire lifetime of reputation just to protect Trudeau.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now Mark Carney is. They sent Andrew Scheer out to do this one for some reason.
They're not very smart. They seem to have a great grasp on how to grab a hold of social media clips in the House of Commons by spewing garbage and then clipping it and showing it and getting people to support them without actually giving any context to it, because we only have a 6-second memory, it seems. We're all goldfish in North America. But the moment somebody who was, sort of close to them for a very long time suddenly steps out of the spotlight that they want them in, well, now they're just an enemy of the state as far as they're concerned. They're not very smart.
They don't like journalists until they bring them in as candidates.
They're not very smart. They're not very good at it.
Yes.
They're terrible at lying. They lie all the time.
Yep.
We've proven this.
Do you think they'd be better at it with the frequency at which they do it?
Well, my goodness, you do anything often enough, you 10,000 hours, you should get good at it, but they're terrible at it.
Lord knows they put in 10,000 hours.
Well, but their messaging is always,
Yep.
They always stay focused on the same message, but the problem is the message is like, one minute you love him, the next minute you hate him. What is it? And you send out Andrew Scheer?
Yeah.
Scheer?
Andrew Scheer to label him Mark Carbon Tax Carney, saying that he and Trudeau are basically the same person. It's like, excuse me, are you the guy that allegedly stole from your own party to pay for your kids' education, get a minivan?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You're not the guy.
You do realize that Mark
You're not the
Carney
guy for this message.
The very first Bank of England governor who was not British in the history of the Bank of England.
Yeah.
But you can't trust him. Can't trust him. So another nation hires him to be the governor of their national bank because he's not trustworthy. They really do think we're goldfish with a 6-second memory.
It's absolutely just so. Yeah. So we had Conservatives basically falling all over themselves, basically yesterday. Now, what appears to have happened is that Mark Carney was brought in to discuss economics.
Because he, kind of knows a little bit about that.
Yeah, really. So now everybody knows that the undercurrent is that he is being touted as a potential successor to the prime minister, which made Chrystia Freeland's tweet of, "I'm thrilled that my friend, longtime friend Mark Carney," and I'm sure they are longtime friends and colleagues, but it's sort of like, that's, the bitchy part of me is like, oh, it's like at the Oscars when you thought you were going to win and the Oscar goes to someone else and the camera scrolls on you and you got to cheer.
Oh, hooray.
I'm so happy for you. I really thought it was mine. Yay. But then again, they do have a good interaction between them. So, but Mark Carney, according to iPolitics, is joining the Federal Liberal Party as a special economic advisor as speculation grows that he has sights on succeeding the prime minister. Now, one thing that you must know is that this has been an on again, off again thing. Like, is he coming? Is he not coming? Is he coming? He's not coming. And a few weeks ago, the prime minister pretty much gave Mark Carney a poop or get off the pot thing. Now, not aggressively, but was at a stop somewhere and was saying, like, yes, our arms are wide open to Mark Carney if he would like to come. Please do come, be involved. Now, some people are trying to frame this as keep your friends closer, keep your enemies closer.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your friends closer, keep your enemies closer. Not sure that Mark Carney would be described as an enemy, but strategically, if he is a successor, bringing them in this capacity turns a particular potential rival into an asset. It's not dumb strategically in that sense. It gives them a time to test the waters because people are saying, like, you're either running or you're not. So, I mean, if you're going to keep on doing this sideline thing, like, get involved somehow.
Well, maybe he just comes on as a party advisor like Gerald Butts was.
And that could be all there is.
Yeah.
Right?
Because honestly, I don't think Mark Carney wants to be in politics. I don't believe he does. Maybe he does. Maybe. We don't know what's in his heart or his mind, but I don't believe he does. But I think he is concerned about the Conservative Reform Party.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and them taking over. That concerns him greatly, and he's talked about this because they don't have an economic plan.
And they don't have an environmental plan. And in 2024, if you do not have an environmental plan, you do not have an economic plan.
No, because guess what? Nobody will trade with you.
Yeah.
So the whole carbon regulatory recovery fee, there's two things we need to discuss here about it. In order for us to have trade agreements with many countries throughout the world, we have to have that. Number one. It's not a tax, it's a carbon regulatory recovery fee. And the incentive behind it is change your ways, live your life a little greener and cleaner, and you don't have to pay it.
Yeah, it's basically consumer behavior, right? Which is a well-studied form of psychology. It's proven. It's like this. If you gradually increase the price of something at the point of purchase, you are better placed to influence change in consumer behavior at the point of purchase.
This is basic economics.
It works. It's proven, and it is working now. The last reports that we've seen said that, our GHG emissions are down from certain targets, and it looks like we are on the path to meet. We still have a couple of other changes that have been announced that need to be implemented, I guess, and that we will reach the target, and the target that has been increased as well under this government. So Carney will chair the Leaders' Task Force on Economic Growth, which will focus on developing and shaping ideas for the next phase of Canada's strategy for near and longer-term economic growth and productivity. Because basically through the whole economic circles, everybody's talking about productivity nowadays. People seem to be less worried about inflation and all that type of stuff. And just Canada has terrible productivity. So we need to fix that. Quote, throughout his extensive career, both in public service and private sector, Mark Carney's ideas, deep experience, and proven economic leadership have made a bedrock contribution to a better economic future for all Canadians, Trudeau said in a statement. As chair of the Leaders' Task Force on Economic Growth, Mark's unique ideas and perspectives will play a vital role in shaping the next steps in our plan to continue to grow our economy and strengthen the middle class, and to urgently seize new opportunities for Canadian jobs and prosperity in a fast-changing world. Carney has been touted as a potential possible successor to Trudeau, with calls for him to replace the Prime Minister picking up steam following the Liberals' shocking defeat. They keep on saying shocking defeat in Toronto St. Paul's by-election, even though everybody was predicting it was coming, apparently. It was shocking.
When there was how many candidates on the ballot there?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of them. Like the Sun, they're doing the same thing in La Salle-Villemar, and a lot of people are the same people, which fortunately, Kits and Cubs, if that is the case, that a lot of them are the same people when it comes to the federal election, then I don't think the longest ballot people have enough bodies to be able to do that in every riding.
No, but I want to know how they can continue to do this and how it is. There's got to, I know it's not illegal. I know it's not against the rules, but we might need to rein this in a little bit because they are taking advantage. And they're trying to, what they're effectively trying to do is destroy democracy and dissuade you from voting. It's what they're trying to do. It's no different than gerrymandering.
Well, it's a little different than gerrymandering, but
I disagree. I think it's no different than gerrymandering. Oh, and the reason I say that is because it is literally people walk into the ballot box, they see 100 names on there, like, fuck this, spoil the ballot and walk out.
Yeah. Now, of course, our ballots are in alphabetical order, so you have to go hunting for the names. If it was in sort of like order of popularity of the parties, then you would just have to look at the first 4 or 5 names, and then there'd be everyone else. I mean, there's going to have to be some changes. Like, for example, the number of candidates an official register can manage at once. That can probably do something. they can't start charging things for people to get on the ballot because that was already ruled by the Supreme Court as being unconstitutional. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to have to do it. But yes, if everywhere we go we have ballots that were 1 meter long with 80 to 90 candidates on it, the counting will indeed take forever.
Yes.
There will need to be some type of other qualifying thing or way of organizing that so that it can't be the same people. Maybe a rule that you can't run in 2 different by-elections in the same province or in 2 different provinces in the same calendar year, for example. One candidate can't. Or something. I don't know exactly how, but there will have to be something that's done. But this in itself is not illegal, and I don't think that there's any way to make it illegal in any way, shape, or form without hindering somebody's right to actually participate in the democratic process. So they may have us by the short and curlies on this one. Now, the thing with Mark Carney may or may not being a potential leader, a lot of people, again, are taking the scenario in the United States and trying to transpose it. So for the sake of humor, let's say we are taking the situation in the United States and we are transposing it. Biden stepped aside about 100 days before the vote. Doing it now, people are saying, do it now, do it now. Doing now is not going to serve anybody.
No.
If the election goes all the way to the scheduled date in October, we're giving the other party over a year to get adjusted to redefine the whole point. The whole reason the Republicans got caught with their pants around their ankles is because they had 100 days. Right? So doing it now would just be silly. So if we are looking at 100 days, if we are assuming the earliest that we are going to go to an election is, the government falling on the budget. Because let's be honest, we've got 3 provincial elections coming, and in 2 of them, the NDP has a good chance of winning, in British Columbia and in Saskatchewan. It's the same volunteers that go knocking door to door and do campaign organization for the party provincially and federally on the ground. So there's no way that the NDP is going to divide its staff between a federal and a provincial. So there's nothing happening until at least November. They're certainly not going to impose this on this during Christmas.
Oh, good goodness, no.
So the earliest it could happen is about soon after New Year's. So, for example, if the budget last year came down, or this year came down on April 16th, if we choose the exact same Tuesday next year, that's April 15th. 100 days from that is January 5th.
This comment from Yoshim's here is pretty good because remember the last snap election when everyone right of center lost their collective shit because of the cost when they lost? Now it's the same people calling for another snap election. And here's the thing. If an election was called this October, and let's say the NDP won a slim minority, let's say, presumably, and then the Liberals go, okay, we'll support you. Okay, they form government. All you would hear from the right and center right would be, why do we have this election? It cost us $450 million. You mean the one you idiots demanded?
Begging for.
You begged for it?
Yeah.
You got what you wanted, and now you're mad because the result was not what you wanted?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but let me.
But they didn't call a carbon tax election. Well, we already had the carbon tax election twice.
Yeah. Let me explain something to you. Life doesn't always work out the way you want it to. I'm supposed to have perfect teeth, a full head of hair, and playing guitar in a famous rock band, or a goaltender in the NHL. None of those things happened.
I'm supposed to be 6'3" and work in the runway.
Well, none of those things happened, and some of them were through no fault of my own, and some of them were through choices I made, but I don't have the talent to be a guitar player in a rock band. I don't. I just don't. I don't have the right hand structure. This pinky is way too short. It should be almost the same length as the ring finger. It's like if you look at Tim Henson from Polyphia, you'll know what I mean. The guy has gigantic hands to play the guitar. And as for the NHL, I probably could have made like an AHL team. I was really good. I really was. But the amount of sacrifices one needs to make personally and their family needs to make, I was not prepared for that.
Mhm.
And again, with enough work and practice, I probably could have made a low-level professional team, semi-pro, right? Like, would I have made the NHL? I doubt that. But there's a distinct possibility I could have earned money playing hockey. But here's the thing: like I said, the sacrifices are tremendous, both for you personally and for your family. And I would have had to have moved to another part of the country because when I was of the age where it would have been appealing to a team to look at me, we were living in New Brunswick. We got moved to New Brunswick, and there was just, it wasn't working out. And that was my last year of organized league hockey, and I didn't even want to play. After I moved away from Ottawa when I was 16, I wasn't playing with the same guys I've been playing with for the last 4 years. So it's a whole group it's a new town. I was the new kid in the new town. I was a base brat, or as they called us then, pigeons, because pigeons fly in, shit on everything, and fly away because it was an Air Force base. It wasn't ever going to work out. And that's it. And I had made the decision that I just didn't want to play anymore. My love for the game had disappeared at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, wasn't going to work out. So there we go. Choices and circumstances beyond one's control sometimes put you in a place where you are. So here's the thing, getting right back to it, calling a snap election. If they don't get the results they want, they will whine and cry like the little children that they are, throwing temper tantrums.
Absolutely. That's the MO, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I deserve it. I'm entitled to it. Just hand it to me. Yeah, make it easy. Well.
But if they win, they won't say a thing about the $450 million.
Oh, no, of course, nothing. So, the earliest it could happen there, now if what everybody's saying about Jagmeet Singh, he's just a greedy politician in it for his pension, well, then it'll wait till sometime in February, because I think that's when he qualifies. Now, let's say that around the time of the budget, it's still clear to the NDP that it's not time to go yet, because let's say they're still at 17 or 15% in the polls, and they decide they need a little more runway, and the Bloc is more than happy. Because here's the thing with the Bloc, right? Everybody's saying, the Bloc has turned around and said, oh, well, it's like hi. Hey, Eve, what's your drink? What's your sign? Let me buy. And he was going, you had me when you said hi. Little Kylie Minogue there for you. So I've got some stuff for you. So if they are willing to make deals now, it's not going to be a supply and confidence agreement like it was with the NDP, because the last time some parties tried sitting at a table with a member of the Bloc to sign a deal, Conservatives lost their mind and said that we had a constitutional crisis coming and that we were dealing with traitors. So it's probably not going to happen that way. It's probably nothing's ever going to be written down on paper. It's probably going to be these little one-on-one things. Well, I'll take this if you take me that. And then Justin Trudeau, well, I can't really give you that at all. Like this, you got to give me something a little more reasonable to give you. And they'll go back and forth like that. Now, Blanchet is at a point of really high power, because Blanchet, he basically doesn't give a fuck.
No.
Let's be honest. Like this, he's going to try and extract the most that he can. He's in a position now to do it. So, hey, door opened. You take advantage of the opportunity like anybody would. That's politics. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Right? But Blush, right now, the polls are indicating that all three parties, major parties, even the Conservatives, are in the 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that the Bloc Québécois latest polling, I think, sort of has like the Bloc Québécois around 29, the Liberals 27, and the Conservatives around 23. I am pretty sure that the Bloc Québécois wouldn't mind giving enough runway for the Conservatives to dip below 20 in Quebec. I think they'd be quite happy with that, because maybe some of those races are three-way races that, on the island of Montreal, it's Bloc and Liberals, with the Conservatives or the NDP potentially sliding up the middle. But everywhere else in Quebec, it might be Bloc and another party, Bloc and NDP, or Bloc and Conservatives, with the risk of Liberals sliding up the middle and then the Bloc losing their seat. So 29, 27, 23 might be a little too close for comfort for them. And
Yes.
the Bloc is also, over the past little bit, dipping in Quebec based on certain polls. It seems that the popularity is going down a little bit. That might have something to do with the leader of the Parti Québécois. By the way, we'll get back to that. Well, Well, a little bit, because you remember we showed you a video a few months ago now of the leader of the Parti québécois, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, basically giving an interview when it became clear that they took the lead from the CAQ and were in majority territory. They suddenly were starting to talk about, no, if we win and we get a majority or something like that, we will be making another push for separation. And at the time when he said that, I said, you better be careful saying that, because people don't really like that type of talk. There's not much appetite for that in Quebec at the
No.
moment.
No, there's not.
Well, Mr. Grizzly, if you will show this graph, around the time that Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon said that was around April, when they were riding the highest they have been. And all of a sudden, that has gone down. And if you can see, the CAQ moderately has gone up. Now, what you will notice here, though, is the Quebec Liberal Party, which was nowhere, way down here in September last year. Suddenly, a steady increase up.
Yeah. A bit of a dip in the last little bit there.
Yeah, but not by a lot. But if
That's
you look
over the
at
course of the summer too, right?
Yes. Now, if you look at the course of the seat projection, the Parti québécois was in majority territory here in January, and then again in April. Ever since they started talking about separation, they've gone from about 70 seats down to 54 seats. And this is where the Liberals, that little in vote intention, that little bit, because of the way that the votes split, they have gone from looking like they were going to pick up 18 seats.
How come the
in February
BQ's
of
not
last
in there?
year? This is provincial.
Oh, provincial. Okay.
Provincial politics. So to now 29 seats ahead of the CAQ.
Right.
Even
CAQ
with the bounce.
Provincial. Right.
Yes. Looking at 27. So all of a sudden, this talk of separatism from the Parti québécois is not as popular. And, well, that has been having an impact on the Bloc québécois numbers federally as well. It also has something to do with the fact that it's also causing some issues with the federal Liberal Party, because Pablo Rodriguez, who was the Minister of Heritage at one point, says that he is interested in becoming the leader of the Liberal Party of Quebec, because they've lost their leader, Dominique Anglade. And so he's been basically and it's sort of an open secret that he wants to go for it. But the Prime Minister saying, like, please don't resign your seat until January or February, so I don't have to call another by-election before we go. So Pablo Rodriguez keeps on being asked these questions. So when you're going to make the jump, he says, oh, well, you know. It's like, well, everybody knows he's going. So, yeah.
I've got something for you here that's very interesting. This is from July 10th of this summer from Abacus data. Is it Abacus or Abacus? I don't know. Abacus. Everybody, Abacus? No, Abacus data. I'm going to put this on the screen. It's very interesting. We'll look at it for a sec, talk about it, because I find this to be a fascinating poll. Do Canadians know who these pictures are of? And the photographs are Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, Yves-François Blanchet, and Elizabeth May. 98% of the people polled could name Justin Trudeau. 66% could name Pierre Poilievre, which I find to be bizarre, because the guy's been campaigning for the last 2 years. 84% can name Jagmeet Singh.
But he hasn't been reaching out that much.
But 20%, well, you're right. He's only going to safe places where everybody already knows him.
Yeah.
Yves-François Blanchet is 20% can name him, and Elizabeth May, 47% of the people polled. I don't know how many people were polled, but I find that to be fascinating, that both Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are known by 98 and 84% of Canada, and only 66% know who Pierre Poilievre is. Yet, if you believe the polls, he is the next prime minister, according to mainstream media.
And there are some new polls that have come out, like the Nanos Weekly polling seems to be confirming what the Léger poll that came out of a few weeks ago, that the Conservative support is dipping a little bit. The raw numbers show that the Conservatives' support has dropped to 12, which is the lowest it's been. The spread between the Liberals and Conservatives has dropped to 12, which has been the lowest it's been for a while. apparently, according to JB from Canadian Canadian Politics 101, if you factor in some margin of error and move from the raw numbers to some numbers that are more worked, the spread could be as low as 9, which would be the first time in a long time that would be in single digits. But the official numbers being reported is 12. So some narrowing of the gap, which I keep on saying, and I've been saying for a while, wait still. There's a kicking of the tires phase when there's a new leader, especially if you're 2 years out. There's no cost. And the results of the American election are going to shift a lot here in Canada with regards to polls. So anything that we're looking at right now, until the American election has happened and has time to have been digested a little bit, don't run with these numbers at the moment, because a lot can change very, very, very quickly. And if things stay the same afterwards, then yeah, we probably are in a change election situation. So you have within the Liberal Party also some of the news was about some turmoil in the party because Pablo Rodriguez, who is the Quebec lieutenant, is looking to leave the party to go lead the Quebec Liberals. And then, of course, the Liberals lost a gentleman named Jeremy Broadhurst, who is basically the person who does all the coordination on the campaign. He's basically the campaign director. Now, he's worked with them before and was working with them again. Althea Raj broke the story, and it seemed at the time that the story was that he had told Trudeau sometime late last winter, early spring, that he didn't think he could win.
Right.
I don't know how true that is. Now, Althea Raj generally does pretty good reporting, so
agreed.
Yes, but I don't know how true that is. If you look at his resignation letter, there was no sign of that whatsoever. He's saying, he needs, he's wants to spend some more time with family and all that kind of stuff, and that even though he's going to be doing that, he will still be volunteering as hard as he can and fighting as hard as he can for a Liberal win. But he just can't do it in the role as campaign director. He doesn't have the heart. He doesn't have the devotion for it at the moment. So whatever the background story is, the big narrative here was, Trudeau's got to go. He's lost his campaign director. He's going to be losing his Quebec lieutenant. Now Jagmeet Singh pulled the plug on the agreement. Oh my God, it's complete disarray. And the news story out of the first day of the retreat is all of Mark Carney.
Interesting, huh?
So it seems that whatever counter-programming was hoped to be achieved by doing this for the Liberals has somewhat worked.
Well, I think they're beginning to panic because look at this. This is Andrew Scheer. See if I can get this to work.
It looks like Mark Carney is going to be appointed as a special advisor to the Liberal leader. I wonder what you think of that particular idea.
I believe that is just a smoke and mirrors gimmick. At the end of the day, Mark Carbon Tax Carney loves the same policies that Justin Trudeau has imposed on Canadians. They're basically the same people. Out of touch elites that believe that they know better than hardworking Canadians. They believe they know better how to spend your money, the hardworking paychecks that Canadians earn every week. They believe that the carbon tax should be increased. They believe that that criminals should be given preference over law-abiding and honest Canadians. They are basically the same person, and the results won't change in the next. The results for Canadians will not change.
But Carney, it looks like
Okay, one, he's terrible at this. Two, my God, he's aged.
Yeah.
Like he's aged like people age when they're prime minister. Except he didn't get the benefit of being prime minister.
Is he even 40?
Oh,
he's been in politics for 18 years. He's been in politics for 18 years. All he's ever done is like Pierre Poilievre, just work in politics.
He's 45.
He's 45.
Yeesh.
All he's ever done is work in politics. He was Speaker of the
Wow.
House for a long time, and he
He's
was
younger
what?
than I am.
Yeah. How old was he when he was
I guess he was in his
placed
30s,
as
mid
Speaker?
30s,
Yeah.
or early. Oh, when he was
Oh,
placed
no,
as
no.
speaker, he was in his late 20s, maybe
Yeah.
for that,
He wasn't even
because
30.
he was speaker for a long time.
Yeah. He wasn't even
Yeah.
30 years old.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, he's aged. Wow. Yeah, because I remember him slimmer, and I mean, he's always had the
Yeah.
cheeks. That's why they call them dimples. But all full dark-haired hair and whatnot. But yeah, and he looks a little puffy. And
He's a big man. He's about 6'4".
yeah. He's 6'3", 6'4", or something. Oh, wow. Okay. I hadn't seen
Prairie
him for
boy,
a
right?
while. Yeah, I hadn't seen him for a while. Which is not a bad thing.
He's not complaining.
Just saying. So yeah. So it seems that the narrative is different than the media wanted it to be in going in, and that's bringing Mark Carney in. Now, if the election does go, so for example, we get to budget time and it looks like, the NDP wants this to go because they need a little more runway, and then it will go all the way till October, then the 100 days is sometime in June. So it could still happen.
Mhm.
And if you want to do it to get the element of surprise, that's what you would do. It's like you would do it about 100 days before. You would have another type of convention type thing. Hopefully, you would all rally around one person, like was done in the United States, and not have a contested leadership, which is what Nancy Pelosi really wanted at the beginning until I'm guessing people from South Carolina had a conversation with her and said, no, it's because of the Black community that you got the presidency last time. So, yeah, we're not going to have a contested convention. It is Kamala. Right? We all agree, right, Nancy, that it's Kamala? So, and that's why this is, the effort in the United States has taken off. It says, if we have this big contested, so it can be possible in Canada. Like I said, about 100 days before he steps down, we have a contested leadership. It's essentially a coronation. Everybody rallies behind Carney. He comes in. That's if we wanted something parallel, that's how it would happen.
Well, and let's take a look. So we have Andrew Scheer making uninformed, idiotic commentary about economic policy. Mark Carney, who has a bachelor's degree in economics from Harvard University that he received in 1988. He received a master's degree in economics in 1993 and a doctorate in economics in 1995, both from Oxford University.
Oh, that makes him an expert, though.
From 95 on, he worked in finance. And let's see, I have another. Born on March 16th, 1965, so he's 3 years older than me. Canadian economist and banker who was the governor of the Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013, and then the governor of the Bank of England. The man knows what he's doing when it comes to economic policy. Is it always going to favor somebody like me? No, because bankers want to make money. They want to turn a profit. Simple as that. However,
being a central banker is different. And Mark Carney, I've heard him speak. He doesn't talk like a greedy banker. He talks like somebody who wants to level the playing field for everyone else, to give somebody like me a better opportunity. Sort of like a banker with a heart a bit.
And when I say somebody like me, I don't mean this, the white male cis head.
Your
I
economic
mean
situation.
Working class individual like me.
Yeah.
And I've heard him say that. So when he discusses the conservatives, the reformers who think they know best what will work best for me by making their rich friends richer and let it trickle down, which means, as George Carlin once said, they're literally pissing on you. Right? They're literally pissing on you. And one of my favorite cartoons I've seen recently, which I'll put on the screen, which shows a rich person in a cactus suit in a planter pouring water into a jug of a poor person who is wearing the same suit in a planter, who is pouring the water back into the rich person's planter.
Yep.
That's the trickle-down effect.
Indeed. We have Kit Yoshims here on the chat that says, At some point, you should read The 14 Hallmarks of Fascism by Umberto Eco on air. People will be stunned at the parallels with the Cons Republicans. Well,
have.
Shums, yes, you are definitely in the right place because this is something we have done quite a while ago, and it's a good recommendation. We might have to do it because we definitely have new listeners since
And we've
then.
done it a few times.
But we refer to them often, and the one that seems to come up often is for us is the leader is both too strong and too weak. Yes, so it happens, or action for action's sake. So, but yes, we are on the same wavelength. I'm very happy that you mentioned it. So yeah, all of this stuff is going on. Now, other parties will be having their retreat soon. The Bloc Québécois is about to have theirs. The NDP is about to have theirs. The NDP cleverly or smartly, I'm not sure if they knew it at the time they scheduled it, but they scheduled theirs for Montreal. So the whole team is there to be knocking on doors in La Salle, Villeneuve, Verdun for the by-election, whereas the Liberals are all in Nanaimo, which kind of takes them far away from any either of the two battlegrounds for it. So in La Salle Villeneuve, Verdun, because the NDP are touted as having a chance to win this, and it seems that from what I've been gathering from people that have been doing some polling, it seems that the Liberals will lose it, even though some Liberals and still in interviews are still saying, "Oh no, we're winning this one." But it seems that the consensus from people who follow polls seem to think that it is not going to remain in the Liberal hands. Whether or not it will be a bloc, it can be a bloc win if the vote splits absolutely perfectly, because the Bloc did finish second there in the federal election, but they finished second there with about 22%. So, but given that it's a three-way race and it's a by-election and lower turnout, somebody could win this with about 30, which is pretty low to win an electoral district. So yeah, you whatever is going on there, it seems that the NDP do have a bit of a ground game advantage. They also brought in a very popular city councillor. Now, one thing that they did do, which could cause them a bit of problems, is their candidate, Craig Sauvé, and another thing that's interesting there is that there are two candidates with the last name Sauvé. The Bloc Québécois candidate, also I believe it's Louis-Philippe Sauvé. We saw news reports with him talking to people. Says, I'm the good Sauvé. I'm the good one. That's when he's talking to people. I'm sure they're both good Sauvés. However, this may do something. Now, again, the breaking of the deal for the NDP might have been a play to try get a bit of a leg up in the two by-elections just before the votes are going to happen, breaking off the Liberals, show strength. Now, we're not going to be in their camp anymore. You can vote for us if really what you want change. You're going to get some change because even we are moving away from them. But then there's this issue also that... what do you notice about this poster for Craig Sauvé?
Palestinian flag in the background.
Yeah. So, je vote Craig Sauvé pour arrêter le génocide à Gaza. I'm voting for Craig Sauvé to stop the genocide in Gaza.
Curious because we can't do that.
Craig Sauvé can't do that.
No.
Neither can the NDP. Nobody from Canada is going to do that. Again, I hate to say it, but the real politic of this is that nothing there is going to change until both the leader of the government, which is Benjamin Netanyahu, and the leader of Hamas, both simultaneously decide that there's nothing more in it for them to keep this going.
Or Joe Biden, or soon to be elected president.
Or someone that really, really, really lays down the law.
All right, enough of this shit.
Enough of this. But even that, I don't think for Netanyahu, even that I don't think is good. I think he has just too much personal vested interest. Just because he is trying to keep himself out of jail. And he knows that this thing has not worked for him because there's major protests all over. There's like tens of thousands of people protesting in Tel Aviv to try and get him out because he has not, successfully got the protesters back. And I think about a week ago or something, there were not protesters, the hostages back.
Mhm.
There were 6 hostages that were found somewhere in a tunnel dead.
Yes.
And that really sparked up another wave of protests. So even the people want him gone because he did not get it done. So
He doesn't want to get it done, though.
but that's the whole thing, right? Because he has other interests. He has other priorities that he never speaks about, that everybody knows exists, but that he does not speak about.
Mhm.
Yes. Now, in this situation with Craig Sauvé, the NDP, just like the Liberals have gone all in for Israel and the NDP have gone in full all in for Palestine, and the Prime Minister of Canada is the only one that seems to recognize that he needs to govern for both sides, which of course makes neither side happy. Especially if you're the more militant wing of either side, as soon as you start to acknowledge, like this, well, yes, but I'm the Prime Minister of Jewish Canadians and Arab Canadians.
Yes.
Yes, so I can't go all in for you or for you. Like this. So everybody that's at the extreme, everybody that's making the most noise, sorry, I can't help but not have anything for you. I am not going to satisfy you. I'm not going to satisfy you. So the thing with this poster is the thing that I again once again I ask: is it really too much to ask for political parties in Canada to remember their mandate and to first run on things that serve primarily the interests of Canadian residents and citizens? Now, I know the opposing side of it is, yeah, but it's genocide. If that's what you believe is happening, and as Kit P and CBio confirmed in a chat, says, and it's, you don't have to stretch too hard. I mean, we've had international courts rule that if not outright genocide, genocide-ish, genocide adjacent or abutting or whatnot, or too close to genocide to be comfortable, whatever words you want to describe it, have indeed been happening. So, I mean, this is not just like the most militant of some group saying so. I mean, there seems to be some legal people with better minds than I do who study this stuff, who understand this stuff, seem to have ruled, no, if you're talking about genocide, then you have some cause to talk about. There's some stuff going on there that we should be very, very, very concerned about and try to stop.
Well, the one thing I did take away from the thing, this thing here on this, I'll put it back on the screen. Craig Sauvé, and he's got a picture of the Palestinian flag in the background. Well, guess who immediately went ape shit over that and said, "How is this even allowed?" Melissa Landsman.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, how is this even allowed? This should be illegal.
No.
I'm sorry. I thought we had freedom of expression in Canada.
Yeah. So again,
you're the ones who always tout freedom of speech, which again is not a thing. We have freedom of expression, not freedom of speech. That's an American thing. Please learn this and share it with people. But the Freedom Party, like they like to label themselves, it's freedom for me and not for thee. Mm-hmm. If you do something that runs afoul of what their version of freedom is, they threaten you, as evidenced by what she did yesterday for that post.
Yes.
Do I agree with what he posted? No. Has he violated a law or harmed anybody in the process? No.
He said something unpopular to you, and your return is that should be illegal. It should be illegal for him to say something that's unpopular with Melissa Landsman personally.
Yes. Well, and this statement,
it's an overreaction. It's irrational.
From Yosham's, it's starting to look like it.
Yeah.
It's starting to look like it. As more and more information comes out from the U.S. DOJ indictment, and as we do more investigation in this country, as the RCMP is currently doing into Russian interference and Indian interference and Chinese interference, or should I say Beijing, because the Conservative Party never says China, they say Beijing because they're the ones who tied us to China for 31 years with the FIPA agreement signed in Russia by Stephen Harper.
Yes, but apparently the Liberals aren't the ones that were beholden to China.
Yeah. Explain that to me again. How does that work?
Yeah, indeed. So if we are micro-sectioning demographics within the riding, and the NDP thinks that their path to victory is really courting the Arab vote in that riding,
Yeah.
yes, at the expense of the Jewish vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know what the numbers are in that riding, but the numbers in Canada are such that there's about like 450,000 members of the Jewish faith and about 1.8 million Muslims. So if you're just playing the numbers game,
Yeah.
right, you know what side. Just cold calculation. Not saying right or wrong, not applying any morality. If you're just doing the calculator thing, you know where there are more potential votes. It may not be a bad strategy, particularly if your number one rival are the
Right.
Liberals
No, I
that have not gone all in like this. But these things remain, and there will be a general election at one point.
yes.
And for the entire country as a whole, is that what we want? One of our political parties having as its primary focus?
Well, I
A
mean,
war going on in another nation that we have very little power to stop, mainly because one of the two parties, but both parties really, if you're really looking at it, have no interest in not fighting at all. And unless we have some type of coercive power that is great enough to supersede their inherent personal vested interests in keeping this going, then we've got nothing. Because I hate to be, I know it sounds like I'm saying this in a manner that's cold, that I don't care about genocide. So I care about genocide. I don't want it to be happening, but it's like I don't want it to be happening anywhere. I don't want it to be happening in China, nor in the Sudan, nor
Anywhere.
in Ukraine, right? Or anywhere else that it's happening. It's like when we said never again, we said never again for a reason. I assume that meant everywhere for everyone, right? But this could be a winning strategy in that electoral district, while at the same time sowing the seeds for an issue on which that party, the NDP, can trip itself up nationally in a federal election, much like the signing of the Sherbrooke Declaration was for Tom Mulcair.
Right.
Where he was trying to preserve the seats in Quebec by saying, yes, separatists in Quebec, I do believe in 50% plus one vote. Whereas nobody else in the rest of Canada believes that. They believe more in the Clarity Act, a clear majority on a clear question. And we'll define what a clear majority is when the time comes, and what a clear question is when the time comes. So while he was trying to shore up Quebec, he basically sacrificed the rest of Canada because there was nowhere else in Canada he could go and campaign in support of that and not get laughed out of the room. There's no way that Tom Mulcair was going to Drumheller, Alberta, and saying, hey, 50% plus one to break up the country, and that he was not going to be received without tomatoes.
Yes.
Right? So this might be a short-term gain that comes with a lot of long-term pain, because I'm sure I cannot be the only Canadian who, while I would really prefer that there's no genocide, and I wish that we did have the power to stop it, this wants our politics, because we have problems here, we have issues here, we have needs here, and we elect politicians to serve our needs first.
Oh, yes.
I'm not too sure people in general would be happy with a political party that seems to put another nation's or another people's interest ahead of our own, and won't even put our own flag on their own posters. Now, when it comes to things being on and not being on posters, the other thing that's been noted is in that electoral district for the Liberal banners, Justin Trudeau's photo is nowhere on them. Of course, he's not the one running, but often in by-elections, you will have posters like with two faces on them. the name of the candidate
Yes.
and the the picture of the candidate and the picture of the leader behind, because it's like I'm the leader and I'm standing behind. But often in cases where the leader is not as popular as they wants to be, sometimes the leader disappears. Sometimes we move from Trudeau liberals to Team Liberal in branding, right?
Let's not forget, Jamil Giovanni was out campaigning with Pierre Poilievre. Poilievre met a woman who we believe has been used in a lot of Conservative Party messaging, where he said directly to her, we've seen it on record, he said about Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh that they're Marxists.
Yeah, that wasn't him. I think that was Michelle Ferreri. She was the one who was holding the
Jamil
camera.
was in the background.
Yes.
It was Poilievre who said it.
Yes, Poilievre was saying it. That's true. Poilievre said it. Yes. Yes. And
He
Jamil
called
Giovanni
the current
was,
sitting prime minister and the leader of the NDP Marxists. How and that went unchallenged. Nobody in the media called him out on that. Probably because he hid away for weeks afterwards. But I'm bringing it up again now to remind you of who this man is. He wants you to forget. He wants you to think, the 24-hour news cycle, don't worry, nobody will remember this. Well, we're going to keep reminding you of how awful he is. We're going to keep reminding you of how this man has never held a job outside of politics, but he wants to identify with the working people. Unlike the current sitting prime minister, who has worked as a snowboard instructor and a bouncer and a teacher. And he taught drama for one semester, filling in for somebody else. He taught math and literature. That was his profession, a math and literature teacher. Mm-hmm. We all understand that, yes, he was born into a family of privilege and wealth through no fault of his own. But he actually went out and worked in the real world. Snowboard instructors don't earn a lot of money. Bouncers don't earn a lot of money, and their lives are in precarious positions. And he taught school. He's held a real job. He's been a real working person. Would he have ever had to, survive on KD? No, because, he does have a trust fund. There is money in the account, sure. But he's worked with people who have lived that life. He's seen it firsthand.
The riding that he represents is one of the poorest ridings in Canada.
Correct. So he understands better than Pierre Poilievre ever will, or ever could, or would ever want to, for that matter. Because you do realize that Pierre Poilievre is an elitist. And I'll give you an example here. This is from JB. I don't know if you've seen this. Mm-hmm. This is from JB. He says, breaking, I have received documents showing some outrageous expenses at Stoneway by Poilievre. This has been confirmed by my sources to be authentically charged to the taxpayers. Some of these expenses are $15,817 on top grade Western red knotty cedar fencing.
Once again, wood.
$1,625.38 on lawn sprinkler repairs, $1,000 on closet doors, $14.99 for a new oven, $529.85 on Swiss bed sheets. I don't even know what that is. $107.34 on a new iron. Okay, so the iron, okay, whatever. The oven, I don't know. I've never had to purchase one. Was the one there that not good enough?
Who knows?
Who
knows? But
look,
you will notice that the most expensive item, the only one that came in at 5 digits, is wood.
Wood.
Again, I don't know what the thing is with this guy in wood, but jeez. Lumber sexuals of the world unite. Hey, we don't judge.
Yeah. Hey, man, you want to be that way. And I got a video.
So long as you get the tree's consent.
I've got a video from JB if you want. It's 5 minutes, though. Do you want to? Are we tight for time, eh? Yeah, we'll show it tomorrow. Yeah, we can show it tomorrow.
A little tight for time. So here
but
we
he's
are.
Wearing a Zeller sweater in it. That's the great part.
Oh, I love a Zeller sweater. So yes, it seems that the move from Craig Sauvé is being defended by the party, but it has drawn criticism from opponents and the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. So, like I said, it's a gamble. it's a gamble. It might pay off in that particular electoral district, but that is something that image is going to follow them until the next campaign. The image is just going to follow them. I don't. It's just, yeah. It really does send the message that I am not going to represent all of the constituents, which I personally have a problem with. Your job is to represent all constituents, whether they voted for you or not, whether you agree with them or
Correct.
not. And that just sends the message that, if you don't not share the same position I do on this particular issue, then I don't want to hear from you, and I got nothing for you. It's not. I know. I understand the concept of temporary competitive advantage, and to try to, take every issue and micro-target it, and make it a campaign issue and make it a point of distinction and differentiation. But these decisions are not cost-free strategically. You have to not only assess who it is that you might be bringing in to your campaign by putting that, but who you might be excluding as well. And there might be tons of people who are completely sympathetic to the cause, but are still like, you know what, putting the flag of another nation on the poster ahead of our own. Sorry, that's where I draw the line.
Yes.
Regardless of the issue. Right? Regardless of how much they believe in the issue and that they agree with the issue, that might be a blockage for certain people. Because it's a risk. It's a risk. Hopefully for them, it's calculated, and not only for just this battle, but the entire war, so to speak. And winning the battle, losing the war. When we're talking about politics in this particular context, I realize, as I am saying it, is an extremely clumsy metaphor. But nothing else came to mind, so I apologize. Yeah.
So here's something that's, I'm going to show you this headline quickly before we wrap up. This has to do with current things we hear and read in the news and hear online. I read online and hear on television and on YouTube as well. And this is interesting because this is from Canada's National Observer, an article written by Carolyn Orr on February 16th, 2023. Calls for Trudeau to step down during Freedom Convoy trace back to Russian proxy sites. Again, this article's over a year old. This is Russian propaganda sites attack Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, making false accusations about his government ordering the use of violence against demonstrators and torn into Canada's mainstream media during last year's Freedom Convoy. The protest occupied downtown Ottawa for 3 weeks and cost the Canadian economy nearly $4 billion. But beyond overt propaganda outlets like Russia's RT, disinformation spread through proxy sites and on social media messaging apps like Telegram, which was widely used by the convoy's genuine grassroots supporters. Russian proxy websites are another pillar of Russia's disinformation ecosystem. These websites, which includes Southfront and Canada-based Global Research, have been previously linked to Russian intel agencies and have, at times, even published articles authored by fake personas created by Russian intel agencies. The purpose of websites like these is to disseminate Russian propaganda while maintaining a degree of plausible deniability. The use of proxy sources creates the appearance of independence and manufactures false consensus by making it appear as though the content is supported by multiple independent agencies, when really it's just more Russian-backed sites, writers, and commentators. So this story, along with all of the other things that we're finding out right now with the DOJ indictment and the current ongoing investigation into election interference and interference in Canadian politics by foreign adversaries, this is getting to be very, very interesting. I mean, like, quite literally, let's gather around the Twitter machine open up a big bucket of popcorn, and watch the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah, this is a mess waiting to happen. Hopefully, our law enforcement and security services have the gumption and the will to really devote what was needed to investigating this much more thoroughly. Because it needs it. This can't be another thing of, oh, well, it doesn't seem so bad, so let's just pass it. Or the United States are doing it so that we don't have to.
No.
They picked Canada for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Well, Luc Lebrun has a story about that from the Toronto Star. I thought I had it here. I'll see if I can find it. I did have it set up earlier. But he talks about how easy it is to set up in Canada and why it happens. See if I can get the story and link it to everybody here.
All right. So, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right, Kits and Cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please take some time to tell your peeps and poops all about us. We appreciate it when you do. If you do not want to miss an episode, you do not have to. Thanks to the Ray Girl, she has sponsored our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. Otherwise, you can also scan the QR code that just appeared under my chin if you're watching, and that will bring you directly to our pod page site so that you may subscribe. If you would like to help us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. Yes, you must, where we have 3 buttons for you there: like, share, subscribe. Click 'em, lick 'em, flick 'em. When you do, it makes us happy. Come on and push on all our buttons, babe. Yeah, we like it when you do. And of course, you earn our gratitude. Now, if you want to earn even more of our gratitude, well, then you make your way down to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all one word. And there you will find the Beaver Lodge's tip jar, or the Emergency Hydration Fund. Really, it's keep the show going fund.
It's to keep the show going.
Says. But there, if you have, you happen to be weighed down by some loonies and toonies in your pockets, and you want to lighten the load, let's say a little pre-autumn cleaning, for lack of a better word, we like to help, and we are more than happy to lighten your load. So if you just take those loonies and toonies and deposit them in our little tip jar, we are grateful. Your sex appeal goes up by 37.2%. We've studied it in our labs. It's a fact. It just happens. Like this, you donate to us, and then suddenly people are on the street going, who is that thoughtful, intelligent, and engaged person? Looking good. Tell you, you will turn heads. Coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all one word. A little contribution, whatever you can contribute, makes us very happy. And if you cannot contribute, hey, that's quite all right, because as we keep on saying, the gift of your attention is the one that matters most to us, because there are a lot of podcasts out there, a lot of newscasts, a lot of things competing for your attention. That you take some time out of your day to make time for us really means a lot to us. So we want to hear from you. Write to us. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Or you can leave us a comment on our YouTube page. You can leave us a comment on our Twitter feed @TrueEager, or our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver. We do read everything, and we thank you for your contributions. Thank you so very much, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. If you have the opportunity, if you're thinking about it, maybe you're the change that we need, run for something, as Kit Dan has, and as Kit Saucy is. Get your body involved. We need good people, and you are good people. I mean, you're listening to the show, right?
Yeah, that makes you good already.
It makes you good people. You clearly have discernment, judgment, and exceptionally good taste.
I would like to think so.
Also, by-elections are coming. I believe that anticipatory voting for the 2 federal by-elections closed yesterday, so now there's just voting day on September 16th. September 19th is voting day if you're in Ontario in the Bay of Quinte by-election. So please go vote there, plan your vote. Remember, friends, do not let friends do democracy alone, so bring someone with you. And the nominations close on September 19th for Ward 15 in Toronto if you are considering being a candidate there. I think that's all I have. Oh, yeah. And take some time to write your MPs and tell them that you definitely want some investigations into what is going on with regard to disinformation and how it is being funded. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom, please?
Please, I'm asking you kindly, politely, to inform your friends and neighbors about what is being done to them via the Conservative Party of Canada and how this party is playing with democracy in such a dangerous method by lying to people daily and never getting called out for it. Tell them to have a look at our show. I know that's self-serving, but the reason we have a show is to make sure people can find out the real truth. And we call out everyone, no matter their political stripe. I don't know if these are really words of wisdom more so than we got to get the word out. Because as more and more people seem to think bad things about the current state of the world, and the current state of the world is not great, we need to let people know that Canada is doing wonderfully. Our economy is thriving. Yes, we have problems, lots of them, and we're working to fix them. Kicking out the guy who's currently sitting here, who's brought us dental care, pharmacare, health care, child care, kicking him out to bring in somebody new who doesn't know a damn thing outside of politics and has never worked in the real world is not a good decision. So please, share this with as many people as you can so we can get the truth out there. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. We have another comment here saying from Yoshams, you guys really need to go over her paper on air. I'm not sure who her is here. Russia's role in the far-right truck convoy
yes,
and
yeah, I know,
analysis of Russian state media activity related to the 22 Freedom Convoy.
I have the paper.
Yeah. We'll take a look at that, but at first glance, probably not what we do.
No, it's an article written by the same person who wrote the article in the National Observer about the Freedom Convoy, how it was perpetrated, and I just read about it.
Okay.
She wrote a paper about this, about how the Freedom Convoy was Russian proxy sites to spread Russian propaganda.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, that's definitely.
Okay. We'll take a look at that. All right. I think that is everything, Kits and Cubs. So, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock.
Okay, I can do that.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Kits and Cubs. A little thing of an Easter egg. It seems that Jagmeet Singh thought that this was a good tweet, which I guess in one way is, but it kind of got him some unintended laughs. Mr. Grizzly, if you will read it.
I love our country, but right now we are at a crossroads. Conservative cuts and corporate greed are the greatest threat to Canadian relief. But if we stand united, we can win together. CEOs have had their governments. It's the people's time.
Okay, again, but if we stand united, you're the one that just broke away from the people with whom you were standing united.
Exactly. And what did David Cochrane say? But they fulfilled their end of the agreement. You bailed, not them.
Yeah. And some people are also pointing at, we're at a crossroads, but he looks like he's going to take a walk into the ocean.
He's on a pier. I know. Like, don't say crossroads and then put yourself on a pier walking into water. It's not a good... The optics on it are bad. Yeah, they're bad.
All right. He's still new here. All right. Jeez. Oh, my God. Chug meat. You need better people.
You do.
You
All
need
right.
better people.
I'll see you.
See you soon.